everybody out there in podcast land. Thank you so much for joining me for another Get Happy podcast with moi, your host. I know it's me again, Rudrani Devi. And oh my goddess, I can't tell you how excited I am to have my next guest. I don't even know how long we've known each other, to be honest. I'm at that point where my brain's going, it's fixated because I think we met in a yoga class, or maybe you were even teaching it. I don't know. And then she came and worked at my Davy clinic on 12th Avenue South in Nashville, which was kind of a little bohemian area. And we've managed to reconnect recently, which has been fabulous. And I don't know, Kellen, let me introduce my lovely, beautiful friend, Kellen. Hello, and thank you for joining us today. And would you please tell our listeners out there in podcast land and on YouTube, if you're actually watching now or in the future, who you are, what you do, who you be, all the things, because she's amazing. It's lots of things she's got going on. Please.
All right. Hello, Rue, and all of you out there in Happy Land. So I believe Rudrani and I, just to follow up with that, we met probably close to about 2002-ish, 2003.
No.
Yes, at Yoga Source in Nashville, that beautiful yoga studio in the root chakra of a building. And
it was in the basement, y'all. I was working upstairs on the top floor and I discovered this little studio, and it was this tiny little space, but it was so magical. Wow, thanks for reminding me.
Yes. Which at the time, I feel like I know I needed it because it was such this studio of rootedness. And from that rootedness, so many of us expanded and blossomed, really, when I look at where you're at now and where I am. And yet that was the beginning for our professional and personal friendship relationship was in Nashville. Yeah. And so for me, where I am and what I do right now, I'm back in my home state, and I'm writing that now, small h, capital O, capital M, small e state, because it really is back in my home state of Michigan that I haven't lived here since '93. And what I do is I am a certified Ayurvedic lifestyle practitioner and holistic wellness coach. And I'm also a writer. I write anything from wellness articles for companies, past and present have been Lululemon, Lole, Aveda, Maharshi Ayurveda, Conscious Lifestyle magazine. And then I also write for myself and got a few first drafts of books going. And yes, and I also write poetry because it's any writing's fun, but poetry, I can be especially playful about that. And so basically, like, what I do now is an extension of what I did in the corporate world, when I was in corporate marketing for 10 years and with banking in an institutional trust and retirement services department. Wow. And yeah, I know. So at that time, I was helping people be financially healthy in their retirement years. And now what I do is I'm kind of riffing off of that and helping people be body, mind, spirit wealthy in their health.
I love that.
And yeah, so that's where I'm at now. And I just recently added inspirational speaking, which as a yoga teacher, as a teacher of events and classes, I've always been in a position of teaching and using my voice, but now it's actually for I debuted with my alma mater. So we talk about everything like homecoming, full circle. My first professional speaking gig was with my alma mater, St. Mary's, Notre Dame, late September.
Oh my gosh, this just happened.
Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, I can perceive the energy of your excitement, but what was that like actually being there and going, wow, I was such a different person when I was first here, and now I'm contributing back. And what is that like?
It was surreal, honestly, because I hadn't really been very active with my alma mater, being that I left my home state. So St. Mary's is near southwestern Michigan, but I left Michigan in 93 and I lived in North Carolina, then Nashville and Albuquerque in California. So I never did a lot of reunions and things like that, but coming back to Michigan has really been a big old reunion on all geographical, spiritual, even career-wise, I'm seeing it. And it was magic. And it was magic because they were women that I recognized from when I went to school there, but there were these other women that we all I felt like we had similar experiences because we went to this small women's liberal arts college. And then that so many people, there's very rooted and bearing fruit in their spiritual life, which, that I'm all about that. You are as well. This podcast is. And then the topic and it's true. All this is true. It's called Faith and Three Hail Marys. And
oh my goddess, I love that.
And it's a story of how my mother's tomb became a sacred womb because 9 months, literally 9 months after I graduated from St. Mary's, my mother passed of ovarian cancer. And it's literally because of a woman named Faith and three Marys that were integral, not sure that word, but doesn't matter.
That sounds good to me.
Muy importante. Very important part of my survival from, grieving mother loss, but then really ushered me on the path to who is Kellen without this energetical umbilical cord,
Right.
tied to my mother, to my father, to families. And it was the beginning of Kellen walking the spiritual path, which of course it started in North Carolina and it was amplified there. And then it got to Nashville, which, we know what all that was between Yoga Source and the Devi Clinic.
Oh my goddess.
Yes. And then I went out to Albuquerque with Dr. Vasant Lad. So now we're talking
Explosion.
and then California, Santa Barbara, then Ojai. And I feel like the universe was just like, okay, girl, we need some rooting in here. A lot of this is just coming through as anyone who works with you knows.
Yeah, it's about following the energy, y'all.
Right.
This is what I love about Kellen is she knows that she knows. And how many of you actually are in that space of knowing? How many times can you look back on your life now and go, oh, I thought I was untethered, but actually I knew exactly what to do next, and this is what I hear you saying.
Amen. Yes. It was in those moments, it really felt like, okay, this is where I'm being attracted or being pulled to, but also what I'm desiring. And that's what I know. And I work with clients, I call that, it's spiritual bushwhacking. And it's believing in the divine blueprint for our soul's mission, where some people my, family members or friends who, are more pragmatic, more, it's like, the proof is in the pudding type, well, where is that proof? Where I'm just like, hey, I just really like this pudding, and
I know.
it tastes great,
So true. It's like when I wrote my book, well, this podcast is a Get Happy podcast, as you know, it was based off of, this is the book that birthed the podcast, Choosing Happiness, an Uncommon Way to Find Joy in Your Life. And it's so funny because when I wrote the book and then I reread it, I was like, oh my gosh, it looks like I was all over the place, but everything that I chose got me to where I am now. So what did I know? What did I actually know? And you're the same way. You don't have a point of view about where you ended up or what you chose and all the things. It was like, even with the Devi Clinic, it was an interesting thing because I wanted to get all these different practices. And when I knew that you did Ayurveda, I was just getting turned on by those possibilities and doshas and all the things, which I do want you to talk about as well. So it's just funny because, we then had this creationship where you came to the clinic and shared your knowledge with those that were seeking as well, following their knowing. But it's funny how you can look back on your life and go, didn't make any sense then, but look where I am today.
Totally. Yes. And everything that happened, and it is one of the drafts of a book, just how it really was and continues to be the divine blueprint. The divine blueprint is there. And yes.
Spiritual bushwhacking.
Yes. Yes. I know
that before, but I love it.
And I got the .com of it too. I was like, oh my goodness.
No way. Oh my God.
Yes.
It's okay. I'm using it. I'm going to use it and people will look it up and they'll find your .com. So
I haven't created anything yet, but just putting the flag down. But yeah, it's because, you know, I love nature and I love hiking, you know, and so everything about that language is, you know, hey, the well-trodden path that I took from college to my first job in the corporate world, you know, corporate marketing for banks, that was a paved path, you know, and a paved path that played into the big picture of what I'm doing now. And yet what's been really fun is being the gal who left the corporate world and moved to Nashville for love and was like,
oh, wow.
You know, I'm just going to go. And then I went to Albuquerque because I always wanted to study with Dr. Lodge. And, you know, so that was the spiritual bushwhacking. And then California.
The thing is, and I want to stop you for 1 second. It's a lot of times we make ourselves wrong. We go somewhere for one thing and then it doesn't pan out, we think. And it's actually the stepping stone that got us to the space that we needed to be in to find the next thing. And that's the space I would like for you guys to get, instead of making us wrong, or I wasted all this time doing this. It was in the corporate world and did this. I did corporate world too, man. I did my dues or due diligence or whatever you want to call it, but I wouldn't give any of it back. I wouldn't even give India back. And, you know, some of you guys know what happened there. It's like, what is going to create the greatest? And if you just follow the energy, and there you are. And then from there to Santa Barbara, which I love Santa Barbara, by the way, the ocean is just, the water is so amazing and all the things. And you've got water right outside of where you are in this space right now as well. But I love that you follow your knowing and look what it's created. So where are you today with all of this knowing? Where did it lead you to today?
So I'm in Petoskey, Michigan, and which is, it's uncanny because it's very similar to Santa Barbara, where Santa Barbara is actually, instead of west, it's on the west coast, but it actually is southern facing because it's in this little bay, it's not an actual named a bay on maps, but it's tucked in like a little cove-like. And Lake Michigan, I'm on the northwestern part of Michigan. It's, as you all know, this is be backwards, but you know, the mitten state, it is shaped like a mitten.
Right.
And so I'm up at where it would be, if you look at your right hand, the ring finger, which is funny because that's the finger with Ayurveda. It's associated with the heart.
Interesting.
Oh my goodness.
You just got an awareness. Woo! Made me do happy dance.
Woo!
That's my little happy dance.
Oh my God.
For those of you that are listening on Spotify, Apple, and all the other places, iTunes, I am so sorry that you missed my happy dance. You might have to go to YouTube to find it. So sorry, not sorry. Yeah.
And I just have to say, like, what I love about what I call just like my soul friendships. And what's happening now, there's so many reconnections happening, and Rudrani is one of those. And we've had maybe 2 short conversations in the last 2 months. And yet sitting down like this, it's just like, okay, it's
true story.
Exactly.
Like no time has passed. And is it ever really like that? You know, it's so funny because it'll be gone in a blink, you guys. So be in it now, maybe, is my profound statement to that. I want you to talk about the Ayurveda because I don't want people to miss out on your gifts, your talents and abilities when it comes to Ayurveda. I'd love to know what actually attracted you to it. And I mean, because, you know, you were born and raised in Michigan, and then all of a sudden you're into Ayurveda, which is, there's like probably not much of that going on there. I'm surmising. I don't know.
A tiny bit, for sure. Not as much as, you know, West Coast. At the time when I was in Nashville, you know, I lived in Nashville 2000 to 2009. There was no one else. Like I was, you know, I might've been the first. I mean, not saying that from ego, but.
No, I get it.
Yeah, no,
I had to search for it. And then when I discovered that you knew about it, I was like, what? I got to know more about this. because I was noticing things with my body. This is how it started for me. I was noticing things with my body, and I knew I didn't want to do hard drugs or medications or whatever, because you go to, it's Western medicine, and they're taught to tell you what they learn. And not that I discount that. I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for Western medicine. I'm certain of it, with surgeries and all the things. But I knew that Chinese medicine had been around a lot longer. And I was looking into those avenues. And then that's where the Ayurveda popped for me in the Indian world. This one, not that one. For you guys not looking, I'm pointing to the middle of the third eye, and then I'm making a little peace sign behind my head. So that's when I got interested in it. So I don't even know how I discovered that you were doing it. It could have been a conversation or maybe a class that you taught, a yoga class where you spoke about it. I don't know, but I went ping. Again, the awareness, we are following the energy, y'all. And I was like, man, who is this lady? And what does she know? And what do I want to know about what she knows? And there wasn't a whole lots of internets then. Internets wasn't a big deal back then. Google, I don't even know if it existed. So how did you first discover Ayurveda, and what turned you on so much that you were like, I've got to go to that. I've got to, not only do I want to know about it, but I want to facilitate others with it and all the things.
So it started off when I was in 2003, I was out in Santa Barbara at White Lotus Yoga and doing my first yoga teacher training there. And we were on our afternoon break, and I went down to the yurt I was in with 3 other ladies who were also like, they have all these wonderful yurts. They call it Yurt Village. And so I'm nearing
tell people what a yurt is, because I got a feeling some people listening are going to be like,
a yurt. A yurt is a circular tent, and they're like out in like India, Nepal, all of that. They're very common, and they're actually common out in California now too. And
go figure.
And so as I'm nearing the yurt, I'm hearing like the red hot chili peppers blaring from our yurt, and my yurt mate Andrea is outside reading a book, listening to the red hot chili peppers. And I know, I love this. And she was reading Dr. David Frawley's Yoga and Ayurveda. And so subsequently that week, I would pick up the book and start reading it. And it just resonated so much with me. His writing, the principles. And so I started getting curious, which is one of my superpowers, is curious.
Love it.
And I thought, gosh, what is Ayurveda? And so something landed me with Dr. Vasant Lad. And I thought, well, here I'm in Nashville. Where am I going to find Dr. Lad? And he's out in Albuquerque. And I Googled him. There must have been Google, or maybe there was something other before Google, but
that was actually starting to pick up when I opened the clinic, which I believe was early 2008, February of 2008, right before the fall of the economy and getting shot in India. And I remember there was some search engines things. I don't know if it was Google, but I do remember I was on my computer a lot by that time. So probably so.
So I found out he was, and this comes back to the blueprint, y'all. So here I have this desire. So desire, divine blueprint, right?
Right.
I had this desire. I want to study with Dr. Lad. The curiosity first. How am I going to study with Dr. Lad? And this relates to Ayurveda. So then the desire to study with him. And then boom. So I found out he taught every July for 10 days in Ananda Ashram, which relates back to Yoga Source, because Diane would go up there for meditation retreats, our yoga teacher.
Yeah, Diane Avis-Dubouzon. She's an amazing, amazing lady and yoga teacher and creature of magnitude. I don't even know. And I haven't even seen her. I ran into her recently at True Food restaurant or whatever, but I hadn't seen her in a long time. And her husband is the one that designed the redo of my house. So anyway, they're very dear to my heart. And I love that you're acknowledging her.
Oh, absolutely. She's one of my teachers. And so it turns out Dr. Lad, that place in upstate New York was an hour away from the cabin my ex and I had up in the Adirondacks. So voila, the universe was like, okay, here you go, Kellen. So And the reason why I knew then that Ayurveda was for me, specifically Dr. Lad, that first summer, it was summer 2004. And he came into the class and he did the Ayurvedic chants. There's 3 sacred chants he'll chant. And then he wrote Ayurveda in Sanskrit on the whiteboard. And then he said, our learning should be joy. Our learning should be fun. And then went into the principles of Ayurveda on a deep level. He's very clinical. But I thought, there's my teacher.
Our learning should be joy.
Our learning should be
fun. And you guys, and just to bring it back to access consciousness for just a second, the mantra for access consciousness is all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. And for me, if it's not fun, I'm done. I'm out of here. There's no point. Life is too precious for me not to have fun in every moment. And what would I choose for the fun of it? So I totally get what you're saying. You're like, okay, life should be joyous, should be joy. It should be fun. Okay, please go on. I just wanted to, because to me, that's a profound thing. And a lot of people don't know they can choose that. So that's why I really want to just pause for a moment and go, hey, what would your life be like if you actually chose for joy and for fun? What would it be like, you guys?
Oh, yeah. Yes. And so from there, it was this path of increased desire, because the Ayurveda, it made so much, it's the sister science to yoga. And so it's about, how to understand oneself, and then be able to live in relationships with ease, peace, joy, and happiness. The relationship with the body, the mind, right? The relationship with our family, with our coworkers, with our neighbors, with the world. And it begins with oneself. And from that, my desires were, oh my gosh, I really want to do the 2-year program. And the Divine Blueprint.
You had to move there.
Well, and the thing was, what happened was my status changed with that relationship, changed. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I found myself single and being able to move out to Albuquerque. And this was 2009, fall 2009, study with Dr. Lad for 2 years out there.
Okay. So you were still in town when I had to close the clinic too. That whole thing.
I believe so. Yeah. I don't recall all like the time, like some of the timelines with things, but it was one of those things where like my work in Nashville was done at that point. Mm-hmm. And again, it's because I do believe, the universe is expanding. My life is expanding. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I went out to the land of enchantment, where there's all this expansion space, because New Mexico is all about expansion, where geographically Nashville's a bowl. It was holding me there. It held me. And then I was ready to go. And so from that, I started to get more, clinical after that, having the experience of being, Monday through Thursday evenings, 3.5, 4 hours. I think it was 3.5 hours, with Dr. Lad. And there were other amazing teachers there. And then from there, instead of going back to Nashville, I was called out to California. And from there, my Ayurvedic practice really blossomed out there a little. I feel like that's where it blossomed.
That's what I want to know more about. Even though you were already doing it in the Davy Clinic, what did it morph into? And tell some people a little bit about the doshas and what Ayurveda is, because we're talking about it and yet we haven't given them any information. So it's like,
that's great. So Ayurveda, the Sanskrit, there's 2 words. Ayu means life and Veda means study of. And so it began with, 5,000 years ago, with these enlightened beings in the northern Himalayas, noticing how nature would shift through the seasons, through weather, and how it affected them. So Ayurveda, basically, it's the knowledge or the study, because, that which we study, and if there's awareness, we receive wisdom. And when we practice that, it becomes knowledge, and then it becomes our life. So Ayurveda is taking the universal laws of the macrocosm to the microcosm, because in the universe, there's the 5 elements, which is, and it actually corresponds to these fingers too, for those of you guys on YouTube.
You're ready to say it. Here we go.
So it's the space, right? It's the air element, the fire, the water, and the earth elements are all in.
I think I'm an air fire, right? More or less.
Yes. Vata Pitta for sure. As am I.
Yeah.
So we all have those 5 elements in our bodies, and each of those elements are grouped into the doshas. So Vata is space and air. Pitta is fire and water, but water as an oily substance of water. And then Kapha is water, cool water, and earth. So
I find more grounding. It seems like every time I meet someone that has that dosha, they seem to be more relaxed and not necessarily expanded, but like nothing ever stirs them up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I found myself to be very jealous of that. Although I've noticed that when you actually balance your doshas, for me, Vata, Pitta, or it goes back from Vata, Pitta to Pitta, Kapha, where one will take over the other. I notice that I'm actually becoming more balanced in all the doshas just by focusing on getting those balanced. Is that what you find is true for your clients?
That is true. And the other thing which is true, which I was looking at some notes this week that I had unpacked. I'm still unpacking boxes, and it was a 7-day, or it was like 7 or one of those 10-day retreats with Dr. Lad up at Ananda Ashram. And it was on Tanmatra Chikitsa, and it means the 5 senses, and it's looking at balancing the nervous system through the pathways of the 5 senses. And one of the notes was, when prana, the vital life energy, is balanced, everything else about the being is balanced as well, like the mind, the digestion, the nervous system, all of that, and the doshas are balanced. So
what I see now, even before you say, it's like there's so many PTSD systems in place right now with the way the earth and the way that with COVID and all the things, that when I hear you speaking, it's like I'm going, why wouldn't anybody want to dive into creating this balance? Because it's like this nervous system thing you were mentioning, the PTSD systems. That's what Ayurveda, I think, was initially created for, was to actually eliminate and eradicate all of that data from our bodies. Is that right? Am I saying that correctly? I don't know.
Absolutely, because we have it's called the faculties of the mind. And so first there's sensation, and that's what we feel through listening or tasting and touch and eyes. There's a sensation there. And then from that, the mind will have everything from it's rationalizing something, it's remembering something. There's an image of something. That image can be I'm looking out right now, I see the lake, or it can be like, oh, I'm looking at that person, they have a frown on their face. And if Vata dosha is high, that person could be like, oh my gosh, did I do something wrong? So the image is like reflected back because someone has a frown, I did something wrong. Or, if a Pitta person could be like, what the heck are they frown about me for? I didn't do it, like, you know what I mean? They're just like, kind of like get ticked. And then the Kapha person's like, oh, I hope that person feels better. That's so sad, because they're so compassionate,
You're like the total Buddha people. I'm not joking.
Oh, they're the Oprah Winfrey's.
Yeah, true.
Oprah's a Kapha.
They
Kapha
lean
Pitta.
into the energy of whomsoever they are in presence with, and you can see their eyes watering. It's
right,
like
exactly.
They can't help but be compassionate.
And it's funny because the Amma, the hugging saint. I actually saw her in Albuquerque one time, and those are the Kapha people. She's so Kapha, and her embrace is so warm and comforting.
I can't
And
believe
she's got enough of that Kapha that won't whack her Vata out, where I'm a Vata body and I give great hugs, but I'm still like a skinny mini Vata person where it's a nice hug, Kellen. But y'all, if you want to get your happy on, people out there in the happy land, find a Kapha person. And when you're feeling like maybe nervous or, anxious, get a hug from a Kapha.
I don't know, because Kaphas have a tendency to have these big, round, watery eyes and a little extra junk in the trunk or whatever, if I can say that. But how many of you feel so nurtured when you get a hug from someone who is, I don't know, like a brick, or I don't even know how to say it? Because she's a little person. I'm kind of a little person also. It's just kind of, I don't know how else to say it. But I know that when I get a hug from I have a tendency to gravitate towards people that are much larger than I am. And when they hold me, I feel safe somehow. It's a weird sensation, but I'm kind of glad that you acknowledged it, because it makes sense to me now why that would be the case. It's interesting.
Well, and you're touching on bringing it back to Ayurveda. Let me get a sip of water.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's actually chai, but so you just touched on, cheers.
If you're watching us on YouTube, you know what we're doing. Right. There we go.
So a basic principle of Ayurveda is, and so let me give you some of the qualities of the three doshas.
Yes, please.
We'll put it in context. So Vata, being that it's primarily the air element, it governs the nervous system, which is all about movement. Okay. Pitta element's primarily the fire element. So Pitta is transformation, and it's transformation in the digestive system, but it's also the brain. So it's the transformation of what we see to comprehension, analysis, memory. Mm-hmm. And then Kapha is primarily, it's the earth and the water elements, primarily water, but it's structure and stability. So that's the skull. It's
like a mama bear in a way.
Right. And animals have the doshas. Uh-huh. And so they all have qualities. So air, I'm just going to give, and there's 20 universal qualities. I'm just going to give 2 for each dosha.
Awesome.
And listeners, when you're thinking about this, think about this in terms of your body and your mind. So Vata is mobile and dry.
Oh my God, the dry part.
Right?
Driest hair, the driest skin. I have to put oil on my body, and people think that's crazy because they're all oily. And here I am, I mix oil in with my lotion, and that's a ritual I do every morning because I'm a hot tub gal. I get in my hot tub, I commune with the earth, and then when I get out, I'm like, oh, shower, and then the slathering all those things. It's so Vata that way. So, and it's not wrong. I made myself wrong for it. And then I realized, oh, it's just my dosha.
It is. And I'm going to come right back to what you said, because that's intelligence. And so Pitta, 2 qualities, hot and sharp. And then Kapha, slow and smooth. All right. So I might have to write that down unless we can remember. I'm going to write that down just so I can bring it back. So we had mobile and dry. Mm-hmm. Hot and sharp.
Sharp is attack.
And slow and smooth. Exactly. So
slow and smooth, like R&B. Easy like Sunday morning. Like that. Right?
Amen. Yeah. Like Placido Domingo, the Kapha-esque type singers. Yes. Smooth voice. So Vata types, they can be fidgety with the body, just nervousness, always running fast, talking fast, walking fast, and then tendency for dryness.
Talking fast. That's not me at all.
No, me neither, right?
I can totally. It's funny because I make a joke about how I could be an auctioneer, because my brain goes so fast. I'm trying to keep up with it. It's like, and I was doing a class for the last 4 days for a woman who speaks French first and English second. And she goes, I don't know. If you were to teach a class for my people in French, we would have to find a translator that could keep up with you because you go so fast. My brain goes so fast and I don't want to lose anything. It's like, brrr. So just giving you a reference point, you guys.
And Vata. So Vata types are very creative and intuitive, right? Because intuition from that space and the subtle realm, that's where they are like, yes, I hear this, I see this. And other people are like, that's just space out there. What are you talking about? Yeah. So, and so opposites pacifying for Vata, the mobile is, meditation, right? Learning to just even have, like some of my clients, that if I said, sit down and I want you to, start breathing meditation, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night, they could not do that. But what I start with them is on your walks, instead of running, walk, or if they're a walker, say, slow it down, go slower. Walk more slow around the house. From your car to the grocery store, start walking slower. So the opposite qualities pacify. And that's what, Vata types, they do need the oils, the lotions, especially as entering into Vata season, which is winter. So all the seasons have a dosha.
Girl,
right?
Can't begin to tell you. I'm soon going to be taking those emulsiating, enriching, hydrating baths. So, because I have a beautiful bathtub, and the winter time is the only time I ever look at it, because otherwise I get in my hot tub. But then I've got to put the oils and all the stuff in there, and it's rocks my world.
And that's what's so neat working with clients is with the Vata types, the Pitta and the Kapha types, it's also what we're eating. And there's so much hydration that comes from within, and being able to, once we know who we are, then we know how to take care of ourselves. It all comes back to Shakespeare, one of the first spiritual teachers of all of us, I think, where he said, to thine own self be true. But yet if we don't know our true self, which is in Ayurveda, that's our Prakriti, our constitution, it's almost impossible to know what to eat when it's summertime, what to do with exercise in the summertime versus wintertime.
Right.
The Vata stage of life, which is, 60s through, early 100s stage, how to live, all of that. And so the wisdom, it's profound on all ways. And it's always everything, just, I don't want this to be overwhelming for the listeners, but it's always the practice of Ayurveda. And for myself as a practitioner, it's always going to be easy, effective, and enjoyable, because it's easy. So my clients can say, I can weave that in. Right. Effective. We all need to say a payoff, and then enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not fun, I'm done.
Exactly. Let it be easy. Let it be easy. So coming back to Pitta, those qualities of hot and sharp. So Pitta types can have a hot temper, a short fuse, right? And they're
I'm laughing because that was so me in the past, where if I felt like I was, being spurned, I would let you know that I know that I'm being spurned. And now I don't care. It's the weirdest thing. It's like, now I'm an allowance of whatever comes at me, but it's true. It's like this thing it's road rage in a way.
Yes.
And I don't have that anymore, fortunately. But, I remember when I was a younger being, that if I felt like I was being dishonored, I had words.
Well, and again, this is a testimony to, when I first met you, it was synchronicity and those beautiful sound meditations. And then you guided us in meditation in Yoga Source, and your meditation adventure, I like to call things adventures, instead of a practice, started, way back in those early 2000s, and then it's expanded. You've always had that. And so you have done things to help balance the harmonize and balance your doshas and the subtle realm, right? And the manas, the mind, and the ego. And
Thank
so
you so much for that. And I need to acknowledge that because I didn't realize that's actually what I was doing. But as you're talking, my body gets excited. So I know it's true for me. It's light. And I didn't even know I was doing that. It's funny because you teach what you most want to know, in my interesting point of view.
amen.
And there I was in that space of, I have got to reel myself in here. And because I know I'm more than just this body. And that's what meditation was teaching me was, hey, I can lower my walls and barriers. I can actually expand out and include everything. So that's what meditation became for me. And I became this walking, talking meditation. And it did start at Yoga Source. I remember Diane saying, let's just do one class and see what would happen. And like 30 people showed up. Were you there for the very first one?
I might have been. I just remember us all sitting up against the walls and it was packed.
We were like almost shoulder to shoulder because you guys, it was in a basement and it wasn't a very big room and it could fill up very quickly. But I just remembered that, oh my gosh, I've started something here is what I remember thinking. And I went, okay, now I've got to step into the truth of who I be. And what's that going to look like? And what a joy bomb ride that was, right? Huh, interesting.
And it's, for especially Vata Pitta types, that meditation, even that it was the sounds, because then we have like the senses, the shabda sound coming in and that pathway into the nervous system. And then the ancient seed syllables that were with that corresponded to vital organs and the five senses and all of that it was Ayurvedic. I mean, really, when I look at it that way.
You didn't know I was doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. You were doing Ayurveda back then.
Sorry.
So it helped with and also the sharp quality of Pitta. So that was another quality because Pitta has a very sharp intellect, very quick learning, comprehension, and brilliant mind, the fire in the mind. And yet it can be very sharp in terms of criticism, self-criticism and outward criticism.
Yeah. I believe that. Judgment.
Oh,
judgment kills.
Oh yeah. Yes, it does. So bringing the opposite qualities for Pitta, opposite of hot, so cooling foods in the summertime when it's Pitta season. Yes.
I never liked ice until like 2 years ago when I started having some hot flashes.
Oh yeah. So menopause with like anything like, yes, that's Pitta.
I would have never put ice in anything until like 2 years ago. My mom was like, I can't believe you're ordering ice with your water. Because we would go into a restaurant. I would always drop her off to walk in earlier and I'd go park the car. And then she would already have my water with no ice because I didn't want any ice. But all of a sudden my body's like, ice, you need ice. You really need ice, which is interesting because I had a point of view about it for a while. And I finally went, okay, I'm just going to ask my body what's going to be a bigger contribution. And it was like, ice is a good thing for you right now. So it's weird. True story. Anyway, I digress. Please, you have the floor.
And then so with the sharp quality, smooth in terms of, with Pitta types, very with say working out, just they can be super competitive. And so for Pitta types, my Pitta clients, to kind of smooth things out, play, have fun, do things that are fun. Like don't, I'll be like, just shut off the timer on your walks or your runs and,
where were you when I was a marathon runner is what I want to know. Did you know I did all that?
Oh yeah. I did know that. That's that. Yeah. Vata, Pitta bodies love doing things like that. Yeah. And then lastly, the Kapha. So we'd shared slow and smooth with or qualities of the Kapha dosha. And you had mentioned earlier, so a Kapha type physique is very smooth skin. They have a just thickness to them, whether it's the skin, their hair, their voice is slow and smooth. So James Earl Jones, that beautiful Kapha voice. Oh my word, right?
Yeah. I can't even. I'm sorry. I love James Earl Jones's voice. It just melts me. It makes me relax. And that's what I love about Kapha dosha people, because it's like that space of, you got this, just relax. What you so worried about? Just chill. I mean, and I mean, like literally could be an auctioneer. going. And then the heat part of it as well, where, I can be like, and then, okay, chill. I've got so little kapha in my doshas, but when I balance them, I find that they're all three there. So can you speak to that? And I know I can talk to you forever, but I kind of want people to know that, hey, you're not limited by your doshas. You can actually get to a space where you're creating all of it for you. So can you speak about that for just a moment? Do you know where I'm coming from here?
Oh, for sure. So yeah, everyone has because we have all 5 elements. We have all 3 doshas. It's just a matter of the ratio and where that dosha manifests in the body. So for me, I have the easiest bit of kapha. I'm vata pitta primary, and then kapha 1. And yet that kapha, and for me, it's in my subtle body more. And because my physical body is vata pitta, as is my mental body is that. And so for a vata type person, the meditation, the slowing down, the being in nature, which is like a kapha-like nature environment, which was Santa Barbara, which is Michigan, with the water, all the trees, the density of the trees. It's very womb-like, very nurturing for my vata and my pitta.
I'm so grateful that you're actually saying this, because almost every morning I am in my hot tub.
Yes.
And that's my womb. And that's when I connect with Mother Earth. And I have this mantra I do with her every morning. What energy, space, consciousness, choice, magic, miracles, mysteries, and possibilities can me and my body be, so that you can create you the way you would like to be created? And anything that doesn't allow that, I destroy and uncreate it all. And anything you want to gift to me, I will receive with ease and joy and glory. And it's a space of communion where I'm starting my day. It's like this morning meditation. And I realize now that's that part of that dosha where I wake up and decelerate, because that's what I require to get my day started. It's not this, I'm going to have coffee and then I'm going to do this. It's like, and it was 31 degrees this morning. So it was very crisp when I got in the hot tub, which made it even more like a womb. And I just realized, and I want to acknowledge that I realized this, that was that space of kapha for me. And that's how I'm starting my day. So that's how I'm balancing the pitta dosha for sure. and the vata, where I'm like, brrr. So how cool is that? It's just a matter of how can you honor yourself to balance out what your propensity is to be. Is that right?
Yes, it's that. And the other thing that you touched on, which when I'm working for myself and when I work with clients, I call it the bookends of the day, where I come up with either 8 is great, sweet 16, or 20 is plenty. It's minutes. So 8 minutes, 16, 20 in the morning and the evening. Because the bookends of the day in the morning, it's about, we've been in this spirit world because we've been sleeping. And so it's a time to integrate body, mind, and spirit for the tasks of the day. So the morning routine, it's called Dinacharya in Ayurveda.
Right.
And then the bedtime routine is taking care of the physical body so that the subtle body and the spiritual body, so the nervous system gets replenished and the spiritual body gets to really play at night.
Right.
Right. So those bookends of the day are key times, very effective times for balancing, all the vital systems of the body, and then spiritual as well. And, ancients, they, sunrise, sunset were the veils between the physical realm and the spiritual realm.
All I can do is hear this song. Sunrise, sunset. Sorry, my brain. So vada of me. Sorry, go on, please.
Well, But yet that's the beauty of it, because you just, those things that you say like that, it's how Vata can take these, principles, universal laws, and present it in a way where our learning should be joy, our learning should be fun, right? So Vata types, when they teach, are this way. You're perfect. Like, it's amazing how you are. Where the scientists and the scholars, the Pitta types, very clinical, very serious, right? And so, yeah, you have the ability to do both. It's really neat.
Kind of playful with it is a thing. It's funny because I just finished teaching a Right Voice for You class, and the woman was even saying, she goes, I don't know. I mean, you teach so differently from anybody I know. And I said, well, there is no other Rudrani but me. If you're Ru ready, this is how it shows up. Okay. And then there's other people that really go by the book. And I just follow the energy. It's like how we started this conversation. I tap into the energy of the people talking. I'm like, okay, I'm talking to you, but you're pinging. Is something going on with you? Yes. Well, when you said blah, 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 I got this. And I have that talent and ability. I can acknowledge that I have that. It's not an ego-driven thing. It's what can I be to create and generate the most for this class? And that's how I start anything, even my day. What can I be today that I can outcreate myself right away? What can I be for others to be able to receive what it is that they are searching for? Can I be that energy for them? And if not, can I be the assistance for them to find it somewhere else? Which is what this podcast is about. It doesn't have to be about me. I'm with me all the time, It's just this energy of what's going to be fun for me, what's going to be joyful for me, what's going to create the most, what can I create and generate today that will outcreate me right away? And because why else am I here, y'all? And if something turns you on like Ayurveda or whatever it is, follow the energy of that. Your body is brilliant. Your body is more aware than you are until you finally decide to co-create with it. So acknowledge that. Hey, body, you're pretty cool. You seem to know things before I do. I get pains and then I find out later what it's about. You're so cool. And then there's this Ayurveda piece where it's like connecting not just with the earth and with your body, but with yourself and finding out, to thy own self be true. That whole piece. It's so funny because in the class, I actually said that quote today, which is interesting, isn't it? And I mean, I know we could go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Wait, on and on, we just keep on trying. So there is so much more to this conversation. And the thing is we have a limited amount of time, and I love you, Kellen. I adore you beyond the beyonds. I would like for people to know where to find you if they want more, because we've given them a lot. I can imagine some people's heads exploding. I can just imagine it. So if they were going to find you so they could discover more or maybe have some facilitation with you, where could they go?
So my website is kellenbrugman.com. And is that something you put in show notes or?
I will.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about trying to figure it out as far as spelling, but do spell it anyway, just in case people are like with their phones putting it into their notes.
Got it. So it's K-E-L-L-E-N and then B as in Bravo, R-U-G-M-A-N. So kellenbrugman.com. Yeah, .com. And then the same goes with Instagram and Facebook. And, on my website, I have a blog and there's some articles about Ayurveda. There's other articles where I blend Ayurveda, spirituality, humor. Again, my writing is such that has the principles in it, but I weave in my life experiences, which are sometimes sacred and sometimes which I call sacrilegious, a little silly,
And very vulnerable, by the way. And I can come from that space because I've written 3 books now where I've totally kind of thrown myself under the bus, but that's because I don't identify with those actions. They were just things that showed up for me to get me where I am today. So it's no judgment. If you want to know who I am not, read my books. Just
Yeah,
saying.
so I'm there, and I do everything from one-on-one consultations. I call them wellness portfolios, and investments in daily self-care rituals and routines, or weaving those into daily routines. And I'll do anything from when in person. I can do it distance as well, working with the chakras, and started to do some virtual events and classes as well.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, the one that's starting on the 17th, because I love tea, and I have a chai here that I'm drinking from Magic Hour in Ojai, Zena's Tea House. It's
Zena's Tea House. No, sorry.
Yeah, yes. And so it's called Chai O'Clock. It's Wednesdays at 3:30 Eastern time. And it's taking time to pause. It's a tea meditation break, where it's taking the way we make tea is brew, steep, and sip. And when one approaches life that way, the same process to brew something, gather something together, steep, it's that pause, that meditation pause. It's just like a creative project or like a work goal. We're doing the work, and there's that moment of letting it steep, waiting for the divine timing. And then manifestation is that sipping, enjoying part of it.
Target of where will this land kind of piece.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, one-on-ones, events. I love community events. I partner with some events with Ayurveda still. And
awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome.
So if there was one thing you could leave our listeners with before we sayonara, what could that be, my love?
Oh my goodness. Okay. I was like, all right, so I've already shared something with that Dr. Lod, was just, let it, let life be fun, let it be joyful. The other one is another one of my Ayurvedic teachers. She had said always to surround yourself with good people. Yeah. And good people meaning, happy people, like just, having people that are fun to be around, that nourish the soul.
Yeah, have your back.
Right, have your back. So there's that. And then the last is one of my favorite gurus is Bill Murray. And I know I like this. People don't, and because
that's funny. I love it.
Two of his movies, What About Bob? It's the baby steps. And so for me, writing, being a writer, I have to remind myself, baby steps are the miracles. For a client who's trying to wean off of coffee, baby steps are the miracles.
Right.
Right. And then the other Bill Murray quote is from the movie Meatballs. And there's that when they're all worried about if they can beat this other camp running in this race. Bill Murray just is like, gets a log from the fireplace, and they're chanting, "It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter." Where to have that discernment in life, like, what is cherished? What aligns with my soul? What is my divine blueprint? So when I'm spiritually bushwhacking, I'm off in the weeds and there's this chaos and kookiness happening.
Sure.
It just doesn't matter because I'm on this path. Right?
Yeah. What if it's not significant, y'all? What if there is no form and structure? What if there's no significance? What if you don't have to align and agree with what this reality is saying? What if it's like wherever two or more gather, that creates a religion or a belief or whatever. And what if what is being created actually doesn't contribute to you? And I love that. It just doesn't matter. I totally remember that. And it's funny that you said it because I have used that so many times in
Oh, wow.
facilitations that I think this is a perfect way to wrap this up. So thank you so much for being my guest.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I'm so grateful that look,
Welcome.
seamlessly we can just sort of pick up and do this thing again. We're still the same. I know I'm staying the same crazy person that I was before. And yet I know that I've grown so much too. And I can perceive we both have. Whatever that means, I'm not going to place significance on that either. But I'm so grateful to you. And I will have all the links if you want to get to know Miss Kellen even better than this conversation. And if you know anybody that would like this conversation, please share with them. And why don't you subscribe right below? You know, there's a button there. It says subscribe. And thanks for joining us for this dynamic conversation. Thank you, Kellen.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And until next time, y'all. Ciao, ciao for now.